Are you tired of struggling with DIY podcasting? Spending hours editing, stressing over sound quality, and still not sounding professional? King of Podcast Productions has over 20 years of experience and more than 25,000 hours of production. We've launched shows for Google, Adobe, Yahoo, Microsoft, and many other major brands. From recording to final publish, we handle everything. Broadcast quality editing, full audio and video post-production, engaging clips, and smart distribution. Get the professional podcast your message deserves without the headache and at truly affordable rates. Visit kingofpodcasts.com/services today and let's bring your show to life. kingofpodcasts.com/services.
Podcasting since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts Radio Network. kingofpodcasts.com.
Corporate takeover complete.
Woo! Hey, this is the Nature Boy Rick Flip, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence. The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
A jam-packed weekend of wrestling coming up this weekend. You got AEW Forbidden Door, WWE Night of Champions, TNA Summiversary, and the CW presenting NXT's Great American Bash. Is that everything we got this weekend? And I feel like there's no hype, no excitement or momentum for any of it. Because, I mean, I have all the matches that are all coming up and, you know, we can talk about it. But am I really excited or interested in what we're expecting to go and see this weekend? Well, let me leave it to Brian Alvarez to go and talk about how wrestling is right now in a particular way. Let's go and talk about that. From Wrestling Observer Radio, of course.
Everyone's going to get mad at me.
Take one for the team.
I mean, I think in AEW and WWE, like, there's really nothing to sink your teeth into right now. I mean, in AEW, there's like a lot of great matches and everything like that. But there's like one big storyline, which is who is going to go for the title at Wembley? And it's like, we know. We've known for months. I mean, there's really no drama. I mean, you know Swerve's not winning. And, you know, there are various reasons for it in both companies, but, you know, matches put together, I mean, 12-man cage match, and then they just did the 12-man cage match on TV without a cage for free. I mean, my point is, when I watched Dynamite, I was like, I mean, what is there really for people to be, you know, sinking their teeth into, except, you know, you see a good match, and then you get into the last 5 minutes of it.
Well, part of it is that we have pay-per-views that, at this point, Forbidden Door has always had good matches, but storylines are not very heavy. And since we have the Owen Hart Cup that we have to go and deal with contenders for particular titles, we know that the pay-per-view that we're going to care about is coming up in Wembley for All In. That's what everybody's all worrying about. That's what we're going to wait for. So there's nothing that's really a caveat that goes towards that. And it sucks like that, but it's true. So they're just kind of filling time until they can go ahead and eventually put that last link together and put Ospreay and MJF together for the world title. That's the whole plan.
And it's like, and with WWE, it's the same thing I've been talking about. It's like, yes, I get it. Sometimes it's cool to, like, not know who's going to win the King of the Ring or whatever. But, like, up and down the show, it's like, what am I really invested in? Like, well, I don't know.
And by the way, Obafemi's not beating Jey Uso. Let's just make that perfectly clear.
Maybe after this weekend, everything's going to feel hot leading up to Wembley and leading up to SummerSlam. But I can tell you that right now, watching all these shows, it's like, I see good matches, you know, I see some good promos here and there, but what is, like, grabbing me?
There's not. Now, for the ratings for Dynamite, they're okay. Still around the 650,000 to 700,000 level. So they haven't dropped off. They haven't had those significant issues that they had before, where the ratings are pretty much steady. SmackDown trying to scrape above 1 million viewers, but they're also dealing with a lot of things when it comes to after the NBA Finals. Now you got World Cup to work off of. This is the time where you would hope that wrestling would get a little more exciting because we don't have a lot of sports to deal with. Right now, we only have World Cup soccer. That's it. And you got another 3 months or so before football comes back in. Major League Baseball is a blip. Not much excitement for it. WNBA? No. It's just this is real time that you want to see the ratings get a little bit more pickup and that it would be more opportunities for people to go ahead and get into wrestling. But the wrestling business, especially with these two brands, are not there. TNA, yeah, they're pulling 250,000 with a lot of WWE stars, a lot of familiar faces over there, and being booked like a WWE show. So it's WWE light. It's like what CW would have with NXT. With NXT, I guess they're also sitting around like that 500, 600,000 viewership mark. So nobody's really threading the needle or moving the needle a little bit bigger or a little bit, more prominent. No crossover appeal, no mainstream appeal, nothing. It's as if WrestleMania has been all done and we're in the lull of the WrestleMania off season. But I mean, there's not even that such thing as an off season anymore because all the things of the off season we would normally expect are not there. It's all these shows overseas. Netflix consistently having to be during the day because they're in London or they're in, Bologna, Italy, or in Saudi Arabia or wherever else. Like they're consistently, their time is all over the place. So your main show, you can't keep up with it. And how many people are actually going on demand to go look for it? And SmackDown, I think people are not necessarily accustomed. Again, they're only going to get the million viewers. They're not going to put everything big over that show. They might put some matches. They had a championship match over there. But when you're putting up Gunther and Cody Rhodes, and that's supposed to be the match you're going to keep people glued into, sure, you give them 35 minutes. Sure, you had Sami Zayn as a referee. Then you created some dusty finish at the end. But, I mean, there's no real interest because nothing super eventful happens on these shows, especially right now. Nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to shake the apple cart right now on the television shows at all. They're making it clear you're waiting for the pay-per-views to see something, if you do at all. And that's what we're at. So I get that part. Now, we need to get into the corporate issues that are going on all together. In the meantime, I've been happy with MLW. That's actually my favorite show right now. I'm excited about all the things they're doing over there. Shotzi Blackheart holding on to the women's title. You see Killer Cross, and he's doing his deal right now with Matt Riddle or Alex Hammerstone. Things like that. The Contra unit is back once again and being formidable. You got the Skyscrapers. You got some good talent over there. Like, I'm really enjoying MLW. It's been really good. NWA was some big news today as they're going to be having their on-demand content on Tubi, available on Thursdays. So, new episodes of the NWA Power are going to be on Comet, which is available over the air channels around the country, Saturday afternoons. But then you can also catch the episodes on Thursdays on Tubi. Fantastic. Really great news there. Let me get what was given here from the press release for this. Billy Corgan says, to say we are thrilled is an understatement. Tubi's reach and presence in the digital sphere, especially with young fans, is unprecedented, and we're looking forward to sharing our show and our great stars with you as we continue to rebuild this incredible promotion. Big deal for them. So they get to go and stay somewhere in here. Tubi is a big deal right now. A lot of people are subscribed to it. So that's a wonderful thing to go and see here. And it got some decent press. So congratulations, NWA. Billy Corgan, National Wrestling Alliance, have not given up. I appreciate them trying to do that. It's just getting the show on a channel or a place where people can go ahead and catch it more often. Not so much Roku. Now you got it on Tubi. That's a better place to go. Free streaming service. So for those that are on there for looking for content and really easy to consume entertainment, that's what Tubi is, especially the movies. Everybody complains about those, but they're also kind of like addictive to watch or just guilty pleasures. So your guilty pleasures are all there, including NWA. Now we got to get into Tommy Dreamer, the constant story with him and what happened since he was let go from creative. Well, there's a lot of things that are being reported right now all together. Let's get into what we have learned so far. So we know that last week we reported here on the program that Tommy Dreamer spoke with TNA President Carlos Silva and they mutually agreed to part ways. And then Dreamer would address the departure on Busted Open Radio. He attempted to build a culture at TNA and believes that much is going to change now he's no longer with the company. A lot of rumors are saying that Road Dogg is going to go ahead and take over. So looking into that, SC Scoops transcribes what he said on there. He said that it's not my job anymore. I tried building a culture. I can't worry about that anymore because it's all going to change, and I hope everyone realizes how much is going to change. If he was still around, Tommy Dreamer says that M by Elegance would be a top girl in the promotion by next year, and spoke about different booking decisions he made, specifically around Mike Santana and the world title. False Finish reports from multiple sources inside TNA Wrestling that the feeling of TNA's creative wasn't good and that change was needed, especially with TNA now being on a bigger platform. So, of course, the new platform comes in. TNA's not going to go ahead the same old booking, which is going to probably be small-minded. There's probably somebody that's going in, again, with Road Dogg possibly going over to TNA to lead the booking team. That's what the rumor is. You get someone that is very seasoned in WWE booking, in the relationship that WWE has made with TNA to go and create this product. Obviously, Anthem Entertainment and all, they are taking the corporate playbook and following what TKO Group Holdings is doing right now, making changes they want to make sure that they can monetize the product. It's not about the creativity. It's about making the most they can off the program and off the promotion. So Tommy Dreamer is revealing that he did not want to build contenders, had control of who got pushed, and in fact, the culture will change for the better, that the booking creator wasn't good and change was needed, especially with the bigger platform of AMC this year. But you know what? I imagine with Tommy Dreamer, he probably had to keep bucking the trend of what WWE was instilling into their booking, right? The creative control part wasn't in his hand. The pencil wasn't in his hand for main event stuff when JC Jane was champion on the knockout side, or Trick Williams was champion on the main event side for the men's. Just happened that way. Dreamer mentioned on Busted Open Radio his belief that Santana not winning the world title Slammiversary led to an attendance increase for Slammiversary. And Tommy said claiming that his booking for last year's Slammiversary was the reason for record attendance at Bound for Glory. But rather, it was a nostalgia of the retirement match between the Hardys and Team 3D. The match moved 3,500 tickets before anything else was announced for the pay-per-view. So, the thought of going nostalgic and trying to put things in there, there's a lot of talk of that. Now, there's more to the story with Tommy Dreamer, allegations that come in right now. Let's get into that. So, Tommy Dreamer addressed his exit from TNA in a tell-all appearance on Busted Open. And new reports have indicated that not everyone with the company was sharing his views. So as he is out the door, there have been various allegations been made by performers accusing Tommy Dreamer of particular improprieties. PostWrestling.com I want to take from first. First of all, independent referee Dan Perch once told him he tried to blackball him from the industry. And Dan Perch would say that Tommy Dreamer pulled him backstage at a TNA show, told me he would do everything to make sure he didn't have a job in the wrestling business. And all I tried to do was learn and grow from experiences. Through his words were very discouraging from a young student to hear. A Vermont-based wrestler, Kennedy Copeland, alleged that since she was a woman, he insisted on doing a spanking spot during their match together, despite her initial proposal to do a cane spot. Danny Jordan said that Dreamer, quote, insisted on doing a crotch grab spot during a match they had together. He didn't care to ask, and I didn't want to do this. Said how uncomfortable I was, but I'm just a woman, right? Carly Bravo of AEW Talent said that Dreamer once told him he was very talented, but couldn't hire him because he didn't know if he could market cocky black guy to the world. There have been allegations out there, but there's also been some support for him. Notably, Mickie James, who has been a supporter, obviously being on Busted Open as well, with Tommy Dreamer. She expressed skepticism that he was telling the full story about referee Dan Perch. Quote, I know Tommy well enough to know that if he truly said this, there's far more to the story than you are conveniently leaving out. GCW owner Brett Lauderdale standing up for Tommy Dreamer. One thing people forget, Tommy Dreamer's an ECW guy, comes from a different era. Antics that many consider to be inappropriate today are the very same that made him and so cool and universally celebrated and romanticized in the 90s. I've always known Tommy to be a decent, gracious person. Think his greatest flaw is that he probably didn't evolve with the times, but it's not hard to understand why. Yeah, there are some people that are going to be a little bit off their part. I mean, I don't think this is another Bill DeMott situation. I don't think we're getting into that here. But Tommy Dreamer has had to go on with these allegations, and obviously these kind of things coming on up the door doesn't help much at all. I feel like there's something about this where getting him and putting a lot of flack on him on the way out makes it pretty difficult for anybody else to go ahead and take on Tommy Dreamer outside of any indie promotions, or unless he brings back House of Hardcore, who knows? But there's a lot to that to be said. But either which way, in the case of TNA, he's out. They want to go ahead and continue with him. That's their plan. So corporate takes away, and those in the ECW ilk, they just know how to toe the company line. Paul Heyman is one of the best examples of that. He was on Chris Van Vliet Insight this week, and there were some things that were said about his role in WWE and his praise for Triple H and the work being done in WWE. And I would imagine this is not the same man that was Paulie dangerously in WCW or NWA or the ECW promoter that created Extreme Championship Wrestling. This is not the same guy. Obviously, some 25 years removed from that promotion. He has definitely changed his tune. Not so extreme as before. That's all in his rearview mirror. And to hear him talk now, it's very clear he is the company, a corporate shill now. And I mean, I understand he has to do that, but it sucks to go and hear him talking like this, what he does. So let's get into what he talked to Chris Van Vliet about when it comes to his role in the WWE.
He needs to come forth and say, here's why. Makes no sense to me.
I think that people just think that you're an on-screen character because that's just what they see on Raw or SmackDown. But what is your role in WWE now?
If I were to list my scope of services, well, it would be number one, I'm the liaison for some talent in terms of I'm the creative liaison between that talent and the creative team and that talent. So a lot of the creative will flow through me in both directions. I handle a lot of the behind-the-scenes business for members of the Vision, obviously for Brock Lesnar, and there are others. And more so on Fridays than on Mondays, because Mondays I'm on air a lot, I sit all the way in the right corner in Gorilla. Paul Levesque is up in the position with the headsets on. Bruce Pritchard or Ed Koski or John Beckstrom or Ryan Ward will sit next to Paul. So of the 1,000 details per show that Paul has to hold on to, anything that, okay, take care of this, okay, take care of that. As he navigates the macro, the micro will fall down to the person next to him. In front of them will be Kidman or Jason, who keep the show honest in terms of time,
Jason
commercial breaks. All right, we have to hit this crossover. We have to be off the air by this moment. And next to them will be the producer of the segment on headsets. To this side will be the writer of the segment on headsets. And next to the writer is me. And I just sit there and I watch the show. And I'm watching for things that we need to follow up on that. Ooh, you know what? Let's not follow up anymore on this. Let's pull that segment coming up in 12 or 13 because it's a good mystery as it is now. I can give instant feedback during the show, but more importantly, I'm there for any talent.
So I guess there's certain people he's trying to go and look out for that are in his particular significant interest, in his own interest for this, that probably need a little more coddling, I guess. I mean, obviously he's gotten himself where, as an executive producer at one point, he obviously had his eye on particular talent that he wants to go and work for that would benefit from him being a part and supporting whatever direction those stars are going to take. But again, this kind of thing of consulting on the fly like this doesn't really make much of a difference. I don't hear him saying anything about what he's doing in the writer's room or any kind of long-term storytelling. It's just not allowed in there anymore. Instead, there's this new system that has to go into place because it's like the only threshold that Triple H can handle right now, besides dealing with the corporate suits on a regular basis every day, is when he goes to these shows, he's got to be there and handle the production of the show, handling who's going out and what matches are going on. And that's it. So being, doing the matchmaking, doing the segments, doing the TV shows, doing the pay-per-views with no significant plan or storytelling to be told in place. It's the part that he doesn't want to do that Vince used to do. He doesn't want that. So they're all trying to figure out what Vince used to do on a regular basis. And, they're doing a half-hearted work of it. So let's go now into what he said about Triple H himself.
If I can have the liberty of using this phrase, to bestow some wisdom upon them.
Sure. You've worked for a lot of bookers. You've been a booker yourself. What would you say is the biggest difference between working for Vince McMahon and working now with Paul Levesque?
It's a completely different job. And anyone that doesn't see that doesn't understand the dynamic of what it takes to lead the creative process today. When I became the executive director of Monday Night Raw, Vince asked me, what's your goal in this long term? And my answer was, in 5 years, I'd like to be the chief creative officer.
Remember, I think it was 2018, 2019, where Vince decided to go ahead and split up these executive directors with Paul Heyman handling Raw, Eric Bischoff handling SmackDown.
Paul Levesque is not the chief creative officer in WWE. He's the chief content officer. And that designation, I think, is the tell-all moment as to his approach to the responsibility and accountabilities that go with the job.
He makes a good point here. That distinction of not having creative in there, which I thought he was. But yeah, content, you would think content and creativity would be one and one, but it's not. For them, it's about managing the content he has to have on there to fill the hours with programming. But there is no one in continuity, no one in follow through. There is no team in there that is able to go ahead and instill any creativity or any long-term storytelling whatsoever. It's not a writer's room. It's just a room of, we need to go and build content and fill up hours of programming. That's it. They're not willing to go ahead and tell stories and consider what they need to go and do outside the arena, or any segments in particular that they can't just do right there in the arena or whatever else. They can do vignettes, which they do time to time, but everything's going to be stay confined to the arena. Nothing necessarily backstage. It's going to all just be done there live. None of the extra work is going to be in place. No organization to that. They have their matches. They have their setup of what the matches are going to be. That's what they concern themselves with. That's what they feel like that's all they have to go and do. Back to Paul here.
This is no longer a job that is dictated by the immediate audience's need to see this person as champion at this particular show that is followed up that Monday on Raw and the next episode of SmackDown. He is the chief content officer in an era where technology rules the algorithm and the algorithm dictates creativity.
I mean, you should hear that again. And I need to go and pull that back a little bit. Let's just play that one more time because I think he makes the point here, and I think we need to go in here one more time.
Technology rules the algorithm, and the algorithm dictates creativity.
When you are allowing algorithms to manage the audience expectations, that's a recipe for disaster. When there's no human input, there's no thought process of as a booker, as a matchmaker, as the lead, the chief content officer. They're allowing technology, allowing AI, allowing algorithms to determine. As I've said on other programs, what a constant thing I have to keep saying. That algorithms, they provide recommendations, but they don't necessarily give you what you want. And I'm going to say that over and over. If it's any program I have, Broadcasters Podcast, The Praise of the Dodgers, or this program, or my podcaster protocol, I will keep saying it. It's a common interwoven theme of all those topics. Algorithms are meant to give recommendations, but they're not necessarily what you intend, what you are looking for. They think they're giving you what you want, and that's what they're doing. But for the lowest common denominator, they don't want to boggle you down in storylines and things that you might not follow along with week to week. So they want to make it where if you come back next week or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 months from now, you'll be able to go and keep up and catch up on things. You're not missing anything. You're not missing anything at all, unless you have the matches with the titles and the people that you want to see with the titles holding them. That's the whole idea. So back to the whole point of his praise for Paul Levesque.
The distribution of our content is determined by the algorithm. So it can be the most creative and the most innovative booking you've ever seen, but if it doesn't feed the algorithm, no one's going to see it. So then it's not efficient. It's not profitable. And any great booker, and I don't know who the top 5 experts in this world are in terms of booking, but I think any list would have to include me.
For sure.
And if I look at the job today, and I don't want the job today, because there are so many masters to serve, one of them being the algorithm, the other being the distributors. You have to please Netflix. You have to please NBCU. You have to please Disney/ESPN. You have to please the purchasing audience. You have to please the talent. I get so many people write to me on LinkedIn. I want to be a WWE writer. I can change so many things for the better. I can make this the glory days of WWE. I have so many ideas. Good for you. How are you going to implement them? Make me president of the United States. Great. But if I can't get anything past the Congress, can't get anything past the Senate, can't get anything past the Supreme Court, I'm going to be the least effective president that this country has ever seen.
So his point is about technology. I disagree with. If you have somebody that's willing to go ahead and put creativity, just take a chance on certain storylines and ideas. I mean, they're able to get TV shows off the ground that have storylines with them. They can build a plot and they can have a beginning, middle, and an end. That's still possible today. You don't need AI for that. You still can have writers that can put stories out there, and that could be campy or funny or dramatic or whatever. Listen, you can still do it. The Bloodline still has a storyline. Believe it or not, you can still tell stories. And one of your biggest stories is the Bloodline because of the storytelling that you can do. But he's talking about the whole thing with the algorithm. And, look, I can understand the fact that Paul Heyman can't do the kind of things that he does now. Because who was he answering to in the ECW arena from 96 to 2001, right? He was answering to himself. The talent, absolutely. But then what other people? The pay-per-view providers? No, he's making money off of those people who are trying to make money off of him too. And what? All these regional sports channels that were carrying ECW or TNN? That's a different time. But to think that he says it's all about the algorithm and feeding the algorithm and making the algorithm happy. Let's just change the word algorithm to the corporation. You have to satisfy the corporation. You got to make them happy. You got to work through the corporate bureaucracy, the corporate red tape. Just replace algorithm with corporation. It's the same thing.
An effective president has to sell his ideas to a bipartisan Congress, bipartisan Senate. And
I want to hear the political part. Anyway, booking a show. He goes on and talks about that. Let's go and play that part.
An educated and valued decision. And he's the best at it.
Fans feel like they know so much right now, especially because all of this information is constantly in our pocket. They feel like they could book this show better than anybody. What are wrestling fans?
Yeah, but that's okay. The fact is, even if there might be wrestling fans that might have some good intentions, might some good booking ideas, some of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren who have gotten very much subdued. They're not as frothing at the mouth, juvenile, delusional as they once were at the start of the year. You can tell that the temperature has come down. You know why? There's fatigue. And there's also a cynicism that has come in and has taken over the wrestling world, where people are just tired. And they know that their outcries are not going to be heard. It was made clear. Nick Khan said it very clear that conference that he talked to recently. Triple H has said it prior to WrestleMania. Social media, they're not paying attention to anymore. They're making it clear. They're providing content on social media, but any commentary about the content, no, they don't care. If they can still fill arenas, if they can still get their broadcast deals satisfied, and they can still get some ratings on their particular platforms, that's all that matters. It's all that matters to them. So when I think about the fact that we have fans out there that might be able to go and say they can do a better job, we're also going back off of experience. Like, I mean, let's just put it like this too. I know that the people that they have right now that are booking the shows at this moment, they are more than capable of putting out better shows than this. I think that's what everybody's really concerned about. Triple H did put some good stuff together on NXT, right? We all know that. Paul Heyman has the experience going back booking for years. Bruce Pritchard did a lot of work in Houston, right? And you think about all the experience these people have. Michael P.S. Hayes, they all have some experience here. They all are capable of putting and booking together some decent stuff. You know, if they weren't hamstrung by all of the things that corporate is making them have to do. You know, they just can't go roughshod and just put storylines out there and say, well, if this doesn't work, it's okay. It's not going to hurt us at the ratings. It's not going to hurt us anywhere else. It doesn't matter. It's a different time. So I understand that part. And I'm always going to be able to take that point here. But, you know, it doesn't make much a difference anywhere else. It's like, whatever. Back to Paul and Chris Van Vliet.
Not understand about putting together a wrestling show.
That it's not about the immediate moment. You asked me before what I do behind the scenes in WWE. I do not go into the weekly television meeting. I don't get into that level of micro anymore. I stay very macro.
I bet he wouldn't want to be in there in the first place. I mean, even if he probably had some input in there, just like Road Dogg, we saw what Unreal looked like. Who knows what Unreal when they come back out in July, if we're going to see anything there that's going to just like boggle our minds. Remember, we didn't even get the writer's room in the last set of Unreal episodes. I was looking for it. We didn't see any of that. They did it for one season. And ever since, nothing else. We'll see if it comes out anything in about 4 weeks. When it does come out, we'll find out. But yeah, Paul Heyman, I can imagine he's frustrated. He can't go back in there and do anything out of his hands. And he'd rather not. Because he also doesn't want to be responsible for contributing into something that could also get him fired. Or be looked down upon by corporate. He's trying to hold on to his job. He's trying to hold on to his spot. I would imagine that much. But, you know, different times.
I attend the long-term meetings. The long-term creative meetings, I take the ride up to Stamford and I sit in on those meetings. And
isn't that funny? So if we're talking about the major pay-per-views, okay, your big 4 pay-per-views or big 5, you want to count WrestlePalooza. He's probably getting himself involved in those, which kind of tells you there's only certain times that you really would care about what WWE is doing, because during this time of period where they're off in different locales and, get audiences, whatever they get, and they're putting matches up, just put up matches, these 5-match pay-per-views that mean nothing, predictable outcomes, that's what they're doing. And that's what they're going to do. And I bet you Paul Heyman doesn't probably care about those kind of things. But as he says, if there's certain meetings in Stanford he's going to go to, it will be the same time when the audiences care, because you have these American audiences here when they're doing shows like SummerSlam in Minnesota. Well, they're going to do Survivor Series in San Diego, right, or wherever else they're going to go. And you think about those kind of things that they have to go ahead and when you get those stadium shows in particular, those are the ones that they really matter. They need to go and build those out and make something significant for those. So it tells you that Paul, even he knows there's a there are certain things he needs to be a part of and be involved in, because then it'll be a period of time when there will be a lot more focus on the product from the fans.
And love those days. My latest obsession has been, let's book out Saudi Mania. Let's get that done.
So you're already looking at that now.
Oh, I'm looking at the year after Saudi.
Wow.
Well. If it was up to me, and it's not, let's start there. We'll change it every week if we have to. We'll change it every time we meet. But let's get something that we're building towards. Let's write the last page now. And then let's build towards it. I would love to know what we're doing the year after Saudi at WrestleMania. I'd love to have a concept for that. Who is Roman Reigns' opponent then? Who's CM Punk's opponent then? Who's Logan Paul's opponent then? Who's Braun Breaker's opponent then? Who's Seth Rollins' opponent then? Jade Cargill's, Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley. What are we building towards? Because if we know that and we have a concept for that, then it makes Saudi Mania really easy. It's not about, oh, you know what I would do this Monday? Okay, but how does that affect the next Monday? How does that affect what I want to do in January? How does that affect the Royal Rumble? How does that affect Saudi Mania? How does that affect what I want to do the year after? Here's an example.
We won't hear the example. That's enough of that. But do you see where we're coming from with this? Paul Heyman really kind of opens the door, and if you can kind of take the cues from this and realize how much that WWE has changed behind the scenes when you hear interviews like that. From him more than anything else, when you look at it. I want to go through what I have on my X feed that I bookmarked this week that I wanted to go ahead and bring up that I thought we should make sure to address. So we already talked about Tommy Dreamer. We already talked about NWA. Last week's Monday Night Raw on Netflix had 2.4 million global views. Hours viewed after all the demand was 4.9 million, up from 4.5 million. Doesn't mean anything, but again, a very diminished global audience overall. Talk from PW Insider. Road Dogg is expected to be at TNA's anniversary this Sunday. That he might be stepping up to the creative because of that as a result. Another report that came in from Wrestling Observer says that TNA has lost, quote unquote, a lot of money, and Anthem could be looking to make their money back. So the report is that the Aspers that own Anthem Entertainment, they may want a way to sell it and make their money back. WWE can get it anytime they want it, but I don't know. WWE, they really don't spend a lot on money to buy companies. They can get TNA, but I don't expect them to pay big money to get TNA. I'm not sure exactly the way the contract works out. I don't know if they could sell tomorrow other than WWE. The WWE certainly would have the right of refusal on a deal, and so there's a lot of interesting things going around. That's Dave Meltzer obviously kind of rambling around to make that point. We'll see what happens with that. So when I look at some of the storylines they put out this week that did not get my attention really at all, let's make that point here, because I'm looking at what we have so far with some of the things that are doing on television that doesn't really catch my interest. A lot of complaints about Sol Ruca being on the road, and there's like another injury thing that happened, I guess, on a house show. Things like that. Who knows? After Tommy Dreamer left TNA, Vice President of TV Productions Eric Tompkins will be working hand-in-hand with Delirious, Hunter Johnston, on the creative. And one person described it would be co-heads of creative, but wasn't 100% confirmed. So that's what they'll deal with right now leading up to Slammiversary. So here's what we got in terms of storylines for Jey Uso and Obafemi and the kind of stuff that we're getting from them, even though the crowd's all into it in London. But, I mean, you know, that's what they got.
If you are thinking of running it back, I'm going to put an end to that right now.
So the run it back thing, that's like whatever. Okay, that's Obafemi, Jey Uso. That's the setup for their King of the Ring final match coming up. Then there was this storyline, which we're getting back to this roughly, 2 years later? The Alpha Academy confronting Chad Gable.
I'm sorry.
After all the Grande Americano stuff that we saw, which was a complete shoot off of what was going on, we never got Otis or anybody from the Alpha Academy that was able to go and get their comeuppance on Chad Gable as a heel. So we were just supposed to forget all that. And instead, Otis and Tozawa stay subdued, not doing anything to Chad Gable, and Otis looking to go ahead and shake the hand of Chad Gable, but then
Chad, there was a time when I believed every word that came out of your mouth, but I can finally see clearly. And I see that everything about you is a lie. Listen, you guys, I know you all want to forgive him, and I understand. And you two have the biggest hearts, and I know you want to give him a second chance.
Maxine Dupree, I meant.
But I don't. Do you not remember when you made me get on my knees and beg you not to hurt Tozawa? Or how about the time when I had to stop you from taking your belt off and whipping Otis? Because I remember, Chad, I remember all of it. And we all remember when you left us high and dry to drown in this business alone, broken in a million pieces. And where were you? Huh? Chasing your own dreams? Because it's always been about you, Chad. This apology is for you. But you know what the best part is? When I achieved your dream, I finally realized we didn't need you then, and we don't need you now.
Let's make this clear. Let me go back as far back as we can about what the storyline was. So it's an attempted redemption and reconciliation for Chad Gable as he was a domineering leader. Now remember, this tension that they had before, this is 2 years ago. It was June 2024 when Otis finally stood up to Chad Gable. The group walked out on him. So Chad Gable left, was attacked by the Wyatt Six. That's how we ended that part. And now we're going to come back to this again. And then Gable going off to become El Grande Americano. And there was that where he was out of pocket for 2 years. So we're going back 2 years on a storyline we're going to come back into now. That's a telling sign as to where things are with this company. Let's conveniently go back to storylines when we decide to go and do them. Same thing we'll do for particular stars when it comes to storylines, when it comes to title pushes, things like that. 2 years later, and now we're back to that again. Incredible. And you have tensions with the Judgment Day where Roxanne Perez is being left out of pocket, whatever. And then the story of everything that's going on is, and the only promising thing that's there right here. That the only charismatic, interesting thing whatsoever that's being buried to the ground is Danhausen every week.
$1. Hey, Danhausen, where's our money? Huh? We gave you money. Where's our money?
Who are you? Wait, what money? I'm the guy that you robbed last week.
Yeah.
We put 100 grand on that table for you to rehearse over. You just took it and ran.
Oh, no, I didn't run. I spent it.
What do you mean you spent it?
What do you mean you spent
let me show
it?
you.
By the way, remember, if for those that caught this storyline, if you were watching on Raw last week, you didn't see it because this was after the show. It was a social media exclusive. But they're going to bring it up here without anybody remembering, maybe some people not even knowing that it's happened.
I got this, and I got that. What?
You spent $100,000 in 1 week.
What, less than
on
that?
that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's my experiment.
Well, let's make this really easy, okay?
Okay.
You give us the 100,000, or we're taking whatever this is.
Oh, you're threatening to steal from Danhausen. All right. Well,
And you're supposed to be intimidated by J.D. McDonough? He just, come on.
then I got something for you. You are blessed. Yeah,
Why did you do that?
But you're uncursable.
I'm uncursable. I'll show you what I think of your curse.
And we get electrocution. Jesus. This is the kind of thing we have right now. So obviously Danhausen is getting some control as to what he wants to go and do. How about the other wonderful things we have here? The emotional aspect of Lara Valkyria and Bailey.
Go back to work. Wait a minute! Oh my goodness! Lara about decapitated Bailey, and now Lara assaulted Bailey. Lara snapped. Oh, frustration boiling over for.
By the way, so Lara Valkyria, that hug lasted like 3 seconds, and then she throws Bailey to the ropes. Not surprised there. Begin, no understanding of timing, no emotion, no one cares. And the crowd is upset that Bailey's getting beat up. That's it. That's all it is. And they did try to do something with Corey Graves talking to Braun Breaker, setting up for his match with Seth Rollins talking to about Braun Breaker and Night of Champions.
Any steps toward accomplishing that goal?
Short answer is yes, but the long answer is a little trickier. I mean, this did not go as I had planned. WrestleMania did not work out well for me. Backlash wasn't my night. And the truth is, I don't know if I would be sitting here talking about this with you if it weren't for the profits. Street profits, yeah. Tez, I mean, if he...
All over the place. So Seth Rollins, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, says he has his eyes set on Roman Reigns. There's a settle the score. And now he has this thing here with Braun Breaker. He lost. Now he has a steel cage match to kind of like culminate the feud. And the Street Profits are involved. And the Street Profits are tag team champions. And whatever else is going on with that. Some kind of bullshit. And then the Bloodline. We have this going on.
Big Jim! Yeah. What's up, boy? Bro, yeah, you need help with LA Knight? Man, I got LA. You just need to focus on King of the Ringos. I got him too. Yeah. Where you been at all night? Matter of fact, why you at SmackDown talking to Solo?
Hey, bruh, I don't answer to your punk ass, Jay. Orders from the OTC, Solo needed to hear something.
Well, how'd that go, bro? Because we all know Solo don't take orders really well. Yeah, like you.
None of that matters. The only thing that matters is Solo got the message.
So now what?
Now, we sit and we wait.
Wait for what, Oos? Solo might be on his way to Raw. Said he coming over here, Oos. What's the play? What we waiting on, Jake? What's the play, Oos?
Hey, man. Let Solo cross that line. He don't like what he finds.
So there's that. They're letting the Bloodline do some things, whatever. Just letting him get kind of caught up in things and busy, whatever, things like that. That's what they're doing. Also, TNA is going to start working with OVW once again. Wonderful. And bringing up the Aspers. Let's go into that part real quick. That was being said. This is from Bobby S. Axelrod on X says that Anthem's Len Asper has set a $30 million floor for the potential sale of TNA. Preferred price, $40 to $50 million. This reflects toxic debt on Anthem Entertainment's books that any buyer would be expected to absorb. No deal is imminent, but the number is out there. Now, TNA's TV deal with AMC includes guaranteed money now, plus option years that could raise its value down the line. AMC also holds right of first refusal on TNA's next media rights negotiation. A buyer isn't just pricing TNA Wrestling, they're pricing a television deal they don't fully control going forward, and Asper's guaranteed AMC revenue alone gets him most of his way to the floor. Now, in 2024, Scott D'Amore offered $10 million, including assumption of TNA's debts, valuing the company between $7 and $12 million. Anthem rejected it outright, no counter. But there's now this delusion that Anthem Entertainment's ownership wants to go and sell the company, and they think they're going to get it at such a high rate. I don't think that's going to work out for them at all. So let's get into what we have. The matches we have coming up this weekend. I'll start with Night of Champions, which comes up on Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock bell time. Jey Uso, Obafemi, King of the Ring tournament final. Jey Uso will win. And Obafemi will take another loss. Go figure that. Io Sky, Liv Morgan, and the Queen of the Ring tournament final. I expect Liv Morgan to win. We know that the winners of these respective matches will get a World Championship match at SummerSlam. Trick Williams and Ricky Saints, United States title. Trick Williams will win. Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins. I expect Braun Breaker to win again. Cody Rhodes versus Gunther versus Sami Zayn. Triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes will win. Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill for the Women's United States Championship. Tiffany will win. And I think these two were facing each other for the women's championship. And now they're going for the secondary belt. Took a step down, as if you ask me about it. Slammiversary is going to be on Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock bell time in Boston. And for that, we have Cedric Alexander, Leon Slater, Frankie Kazarian, Mr. Elegance, Fabian Eichner, Casey Navarro, and Amazing Red, and Ultimate X match, the TNA X Division title. Amazing Red coming back to perform here. Out of this group, I'm going to say Mr. Elegance wins the X Division title. Elegance Brand versus Rosemary and Alley for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team titles. Elegance will retain. I expect nothing less. Eric Young and Ricky Sosa. I'll take Eric Young. Mustafa Ali, we don't know who his challenger is for the TNA International Championship, but it will be an open challenge. So somebody's going to be coming out there for whatever reason. Eddie Edwards and Moose. So the old system folks still facing each other. This doesn't change. Eddie Edwards will win. Moose coming out with the Broken Hardys. I thought that was an interesting thing they put together. Li Ying Lee and Zia Brookside and a TNA Knockouts World title match. Oh boy, they have stepped down on the knockouts. Li Ying Lee will retain. Systems Brian Myers and Bear Bronson will take on the Hardys versus the Righteous. So I'll take the Righteous to win the World Tag Team titles. AJ Francis versus Elijah. Anyways, I'll take AJ Francis. And Mike Santana defends the TNA World Heavyweight title versus Nick Nemeth. This is after Nemeth is cashing in his Call Your Shot Championship trophy. So I'll take Nick Nemeth to become champion because I think Mike Santana is out the door. As we know, his contract is coming up soon. I think he drops the belt here. Forbidden Door from AEW coming up this weekend. Divine Dominion. Megan Bain, Lena Cross versus Thunder Rosa and Olympia. Divine Dominion, I think, will continue to retain the Women's World Tag Team titles. Cope and Cage versus the Dogs. AEW World Tag Team titles, I'll take Cope and Cage for the win. Young Bucks versus the El Sky team of Mystico and Mascara Dorada versus Unbound Companies Shinkingo, Takagi, and Titan from New Japan. I'll take Young Bucks on the win on that. John Moxley versus Bandito for the AEW Continental title. And I'll take Moxley to retain. Shota Umino versus Pac for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. And Umino will retain. Tekla versus Starlight Kid for the Women's World Championship. Tekla, I'll take for the win. Mercedes Moné versus Maya World in the Women's Owen Hart Cup Final. Winner will get a Women's World title match at All In. I'll take Mercedes Moné on the win and hopefully finds her way back, not to multiple belts, but at least get back to a world title once again for her. You know, after all that she's gone through, that would be a nice way to go and come back. Kenny Omega versus Zack Sabre Jr., that'll be a fun match. I know they faced each other before. We'll see it again. I'll take Zack Sabre Jr. on the win for that. Will Ospreay versus Strickland with Prince Nana in the Men's Owen Hart Cup Final. I expect Ospreay to win flat out because we need to go and have that happen. Swerve gets his heat back, I guess. That's what I'm guessing. Steel cage match. Team Briscoe with Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Konosuke Takeshita, and Darby Allin versus MJF and the Don Callis families. Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, Jake Doyle, Kazuchika Okada, and Andrade El Idolo. I expect the Briscoes to win, and Briscoe will get a world title match against MJF prior to All In. That's what I expect. And there is it. That's how we're going to leave the show. So thanks for listening to the program, as you always do. And I will do post shows probably. What am I going to do? I guess I'll do post show on both nights, depending on, like, I'm going to go see movies on Saturday. So, well, Night of Champions will always be done by that. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out what I'm going to do. If there's nothing that happens at Night of Champions, I'll just go ahead and just table it for Sunday. But I'll figure it out, and we'll play it from here and think about what to do. But I mean, most likely I'll probably do some recaps on both shows over the weekend. So enjoy whatever your pleasure. Night of Champions, AW Forbidden Door, Great American Bash, Slammiversary. We'll talk all about it here on the next Wrestling Girl podcast because wrestling needs us.